It's a wintry afternoon in Ottawa. I've been staying home for over 2 years due to the coronavirus pandemic. Days went by without any real difference. Mondays or Fridays, weekdays or weekend, they no longer bear markedly different routines. I wasn't sure I could say I hate Mondays or thank goodness it's Friday anymore. We may not think much about daily routines, but we have relied on them since we were born, cherished some and resented others. Morning coffee, going to work or school, lunches, going home. They give us the rhythm of life. Of course, routine philosophy change as people move through lives. The dynamic of life varies and priorities shift. But the pandemic and the self-isolation it brings has forced many to confront a situation they have never faced before. What happens when most of our routines are uprooted at once? Our daily routines give us the rhythms of life, express and inform our identities about who we are, what we stand for, and where and whom we stand with. The COVID-19 pandemic has laid bare the importance and the insignificance of our normal routines. Pandemic and the stay-at-home it brought have disrupted our daily rhythms and in contrast, give birth to a new rhythms by taking away some activities while introducing others. At the same time, by increasingly incorporating digital and online means of communication and interaction, via social media, WhatsApp, Zoom, and alike, pandemic too has made life considerably more algorithmic. In other words, the COVID-19 pandemic has created arrhythmia, a term used in medicine for a condition in which the heart beats with an irregular or abnormal rhythms. As it has a dramatic anomaly that disrupts regular rhythms of life. Consequently, such arrhythmia also influence how we might communicate and interact with each other, and in turn, shape how we collectivize to form communities and whom we might collectivize with. Yes, the arrhythmic moments of the COVID-19 pandemic help individuals, including the far right who are anti-science, anti-mask, and anti-vaccine, to capitalize on rage, to exercise their freedom to hate. But at the same time, arrhythmia has also provided space and time that can be transformational. It allows individuals and groups to create a solidarity network in the form of volunteer and action-oriented communities that collectivize in our common fight against the coronavirus. So both regressive and progressive moments are produced rhythmically as well as algorithmically. Pandemic is challenging for everybody everywhere, but it is more so for vulnerable and at-risk population. In the history of humankind, there were not many communities experience more devastating consequences of the algorithmic rage than the Rohingya community. The burning rage of the mass, amplified by rumors, lies, and misinformation disseminated mainly through Facebook, has facilitated the genocide against the people of Rohingya, and those who escaped the death are now crammed in several refugee camps outside Myanmar, notably in Bangladesh. In April 2020, the Bangladeshi government imposed a complete lockdown in Cox's Bazar district, home to 34 refugee camps with over 3,000 households. Lack of NGO presence, as it is slashed by 80%, the internet ban that the government imposed under a security measure, and language barriers had made it challenging to reach refugees with information and support around COVID-19. The camps in Cox's Bazar are some of the most densely populated in the world, with up to 10 family members living in a single room, make it impossible to adopt social distancing. May 2020 saw the first case from a refugee camp. After the virus began spreading more rapidly, rumors and fear began to spread. By June 2020, the peak of the pandemic in Bangladesh, a majority of the refugees avoided getting tested because they worried they would be detained or killed. The scarcity of factual and well-translated information surfaced as a significant hindrance to pandemic prevention efforts. UNCHR COVID health volunteer worked with the Translator Without Borders to craft messages in local language. But distrust within this community was so high, especially because they had seen firsthand how disinformation and rumors had been used to kill their own people. They were particularly suspicious of information that comes from the outsider. Hassan, one of the refugees, volunteered to pass the information directly to the community. Hassan spent every day cycling across the camp with a loudspeaker. The message played over the loudspeaker were recorded in Rohingya and spoken by a Rohingya person in the rhythms of Rohingya culture. As Hassan rhythmically pedaled his feet on the bicycle, local kids were running behind him, repeating the words heard on the loudspeaker. Soon, the network of COVID-19 information emerged and widened and widened and widened, and it saved lives. Similar story unraveled in many other places. In Chad, 80 troubadours traveled to 8 provinces to inform people in isolated regions to fight disinformation about COVID-19. In these 2 stories, as well as many other inspiring stories of COVID-19, we see the centrality of human routers and human bodies. Their harmonious rhythms save lives.